Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, and welcome to Command Power, the show in which we discuss all things Magic the Gathering with a focus on Commander. And today we have another episode in our Spoiler Spotlight series in which I talk about, well, spoilers and tell you what my thoughts are on them. But before that, just a quick reminder to click subscribe if you enjoy my videos. We're well on our way to 1 million subscribers and your support means everything to me. And today we're going to be talking about Ensnared by the Mara. For 2 colorless and 2 red, it's a sorcery that says each opponent faces a villainous choice. They exile cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card, then you may cast that card without paying its mana cost, or that player exiles the top 4 cards of their library and Ensnared by the Mara deals damage equal to the total mana value of those exiled cards to the player. Wow, this is so cool. I absolutely love this card. I'm going to be putting it in a ton of different decks because again, it's giving opponents choices. That's something I really like, but there's so much more to this card and so many more reasons why it's awesome. To start off, the art is really sick. I love that snake kind of slipping between the hands of the 2 people. It just looks super cool. I have no idea what the Mara are. I'm not familiar with the Doctor Who universe, but I do want to learn more. The more cards I see from this set, the more I want to learn about this universe. Anyway, usually cards that give opponents choices are kind of bad because the choices need to be very equally balanced. Otherwise, there's always a clear option and they're always going to choose the worst one for you. In this case, I think the choices are actually quite well balanced and it can be really, really brutal in certain situations. It's also going to create some absolutely exciting turns and exciting situations where somebody's fairly low on life and they're going to have to make a difficult choice, or where they're very high on life but they make the choice to take the damage and they still end up taking a ton of damage. So let's quickly analyze what both modes are. The first mode is basically the new Itali's trigger, except without affecting your own cards. You're just going to get 3 non-land cards from your opponents if they all choose that mode. That would obviously be very good. For 4 mana, you're almost certainly coming out ahead and getting some nice card advantage to boot. But of course, that's not the only choice they have. The other choice is they can exile the top 4 cards of their library and take damage equal to the total mana cost. So that's a little bit like Combustible Gear Hulk's kind of effect. In a way, the choice is kind of similar to that cards, but instead of milling yourself, you're exiling cards from your opponents, and that's actually better, I think, in a few subtle ways, as long as you're not trying to fill your own graveyard, of course. Now, the reason why I say that is better is because it makes the choice more difficult for your opponent. Commander being a singleton format, there's a lot of cards that are very essential to your deck that might be lurking at the top of your library and that you might not want to exile. You might only run a couple of win cons in your deck and you might not want them to get removed by this, but you don't really have much of a choice. Usually it's going to be best to choose that mode because you're probably not going to take that much damage in a normal situation. The opponent is probably going to hit a couple of lands off of this, or at least 1 land, so one of those is already going to be a dud, and normally you're not going to take more than like 10 damage off of this unless you're pretty unlucky or your mana curve is very high. However, you could just hit 3 or 4 of your finishes and end up taking upwards of 25 damage off of this, which is obviously insane for 4 mana and can sometimes just outright kill you if you're not super high on health. So it is actually a real choice. Usually there's just a very clear option. I don't think it's that clear with this. It is very clear if you're super low on life, because then you're just always going to give them a free card from your deck, but that does feel pretty bad. And you gotta think that as the player playing this, you're almost always going to be pretty satisfied with the outcome. But apart from all of those great gameplay situations that this creates, I also think it's going to create memorable stories and moments. And again, if you've watched this channel for a while, you'll know that that's what I'm all about in Commander. There's going to be so many great moments where you flip over 4 lands with this and somebody takes no damage and they just survive, or other situations where you just kill someone out of nowhere and they can't help but laugh at how ridiculous this card can be sometimes. It's just an incredibly cool design, I feel, that's going to make for very exciting moments and is almost always going to feel great for the person casting it, and the players that are going to be hit by it can't feel too bad either because they did have some agency or some decision making in the choice. Just a great design in my opinion. I'm looking forward to putting this in all sorts of different decks, and let me know what you think if you think this card is as cool as I do. So there you have it. Those have been my thoughts on this new spoiler. What do you think about this card? Please let me know in the comment section below. I read all comments and respond to all of them too. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click like or subscribe. It really helps the channel, and until next time, take care. Woo!